Now inching closer to the US presidential polls in November this year, day 2 of the first ever mostly digital National Democratic Convention is currently underway in Milwaukee in the United States. For now, let's listen in to what former President Bill Clinton had to say at the DNC.
Now you have to decide whether to renew his contract or hire someone else. If you want a president who defines the job as spending hours a day watching TV and zapping people on social media, he's your man. Denying, distracting, and demeaning works great if you're trying to entertain or inflame. But in a real crisis, it collapses like a house of cards. COVID just doesn't respond to any of that. To beat it, you've got to actually go to work and deal with the facts. Our party is united in offering you a very different choice. A go-to-work president, a down-to-earth, get-the-job-done guy, a man with a mission to take responsibility, not shift the blame. Concentrate, not distract. Unite, not divide. Our choice is Joe Biden. Joe helped bring us back from a recession before, and he can do it again. In 2009, Barack Obama and Joe Biden started with the worst economy since the Great Depression. And when they were done, they delivered more than 6 straight years of job growth. What did Joe do? He accepted responsibility for implementing the Recovery Act. His work created a lot of new jobs and started many new companies in communities across our country. Now Joe's committed to building America back again. How? He's given us smart, detailed plans to invest in areas vital to our future. Innovative financing for modern factories and small businesses, good jobs in green energy and conservation to combat climate change, a modern infrastructure that brings small town and rural America the connectivity and investment others take for granted, and a plan to ensure that Black Americans, Latino Americans, Native Americans, women, immigrants, and other communities left behind are full participants in our economy and our society. Joe Biden wants to build an economy far better suited to our changing world. Better for young people, better for families working and raising their kids, better for people who lost jobs and need new ones, better for farmers tired of being collateral damage in trade wars, better for workers caring for the sick, elderly, and people with disabilities, better because of a living wage and access to affordable higher education and health care, including prescription drugs, and to child care, a secure retirement, and for the first time, paid family and medical leave. Joe won't just put his signature.
Let's now cut straight to the Democratic National Convention, which is underway, where New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is speaking. Let's listen in.
Now turn to nominating and seconding speeches for Vice President Biden. In a moment, we'll hear from Senator Chris Coons, who holds the Delaware Senate seat once held by the Vice President, and Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, my colleague in the House. But first, we'll hear from Jacqueline Asby, a working American who met Joe Biden in a most unexpected...
Now, we'll bring you more live updates of the DNC, which is underway in Milwaukee. But for now, for more details on this first-of-its-kind Democratic Convention, our correspondent Jagriti Dave is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Jagriti. Now, the second night of the Democratic Convention is underway, and there's quite an action-packed lineup. Former President Bill Clinton, a former Second Lady Jill Biden, and many more. So what can we expect? We know that Bill Clinton has made some high-profile remarks.
Yes, it's the second day, as you say. There's lots of very high-profile speakers. Yesterday, we saw this sort of opposition between a mixture of lawmakers, high-profile speakers, and Michelle Obama keynoting last night and ending the day with ordinary Americans. And today, we saw... instead of one person delivering the keynote speech today, which is tradition, in 2016 Elizabeth Warren delivered that keynote. We saw a group of rising stars, 17 rising stars within the party, talking about their vision for the party, but also landing lots of attacks on President Donald Trump. The theme is leadership, and that is something that we're hearing time and time again in the various speeches and presentations tonight. You heard there from Bill Clinton, former US president, again again landing blows on President Trump, that Michelle Obama, former First Lady, also did quite strongly yesterday. And we're going to hear from, as you said, the former Second Lady, the lady who now wants to be the next First Lady, Jill Biden. She is going to present her case for why Joe Biden should be president. She's a teacher. She continued to teach even while she was Second Lady. And that sort of idea of the Bidens as a down-to-earth family rooted in ordinary America is yet another example of how they're trying to set Joe Biden apart from Donald Trump. President Trump, of course, has been on the attack on Twitter, responding to Michelle Obama's criticisms, where she said Donald Trump was in over his head. And so it's likely that he will continue to respond to these criticisms. But the theme of leadership and the ongoing look at the administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, as well as other issues that have affected the United States.
Right. Now, Jagrati, one person that everybody has been waiting to hear from was New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And let's listen into some of her remarks at the DNC before I ask my next question.
Good evening, bienvenidos, and thank you to everyone here today endeavoring towards a better, more just future for our country and our world. In fidelity and gratitude to a mass people's movement working to establish 21st century social, economic, and human rights, including guaranteed health care, higher education, living wages, and labor rights for all people in the United States. A movement striving to recognize and repair the wounds of racial injustice, colonization, misogyny, and homophobia, and to propose and build reimagined systems of immigration and foreign policy that turn away from the violence and xenophobia of our past. A movement that realizes the unsustainable brutality of an economy that rewards explosive inequalities of wealth for the few at the expense of long-term stability for the many, and who organized a historic grassroots campaign to reclaim our democracy. In a time when millions of people in the United States are looking for deep, systemic solutions to our crises of mass evictions, unemployment, and lack of health care, in el espíritu del pueblo and out of a love for all people, I hereby second the nomination of Senator Bernard Sanders of Vermont for President of the United States of America.
Now, that was New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking at the DNC. Now, Jagrati, she's someone who's known for being very bold about speaking out about the sexism that she has faced in her political career. And then she just mentioned three words that did stick out: homophobia, misogyny, xenophobia. These are some of the problems that are facing the U.S. right now. So what do you have to say about her recent words?
Well, these are some of the themes that are going to be illustrated in the DNC in the convention. The issues that the Democrats are arguing are dividing America at the moment on the lines of race, on the lines of various other identity rights, on the lines of sexual equality, on the lines of gender equality. And this is something a message that the Democrats clearly want to promote. Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to heal those divisions. Now, the Democrats themselves have divisions of their own. They were most stark in 2016 between the progressives and the moderates, between the left and the moderates within the party. And that is something that they are trying to show is that they have healed within their own party. So that's why you have figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You had Senator Bernie Sanders speaking yesterday at the same time as former Republican lawmakers and long-time Republican voters explaining why they are choosing to vote for Joe Biden rather than for Donald Trump. But that is a difficult tightrope for the Democrats and for Joe Biden to walk. On the one hand, he's got to convince Bernie Sanders and supporters and those like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that he is willing to embrace more left-wing policies. But at the same time, he's got to reassure Republicans and independents and those who might be undecided, but more to the centre or the centre-right, that he's not going to be drawn in by left-wing policies and left-wing agendas. That is a very difficult tightrope to walk. So It'll be interesting to see over the next 4 days whether the Democrats will be able to maintain that narrative that they are able to be a broad church and that they are going to heal divisions within the country as well as the divisions that have riven it themselves, the party itself.
Right. Just focusing on the Democratic Party for now, we know that earlier they wanted Bernie Sanders to be their presidential candidate, and now, of course, it's Joe Biden. And there's a lot of speculation that there's rumors of a split between the party, and they don't really care about young voters. So can we just discuss that for a bit?
Well, it's one of the interesting things is that those on the left are talking about the importance of young voters, but the party itself, both Republicans and Democrats, young voters are obviously very important to them. They are the future generations of people who will vote. But there's an issue of turnout with young voters. And actually, one of the interesting things in the primaries is that Joe Biden was catching a lot of older voters, which is traditionally was seen to have been Donald Trump's catchment, his base. And so it's again one of those splits, one of those divisions. How do you appeal to younger voters as well as older voters? The challenge, the perennial challenge of any election.
Right. Now, my final question, let's talk about the current US president who has retorted against Michelle Obama's powerful speech yesterday where she heavily critiqued his presidency. And Trump has said, and I'm quoting, "Somebody please explain to Michelle Obama that Donald J. Trump would not be here in the beautiful White House if it weren't for the job done by your husband, Barack Obama." Those are Trump's words. So how are his scathing remarks being perceived in the US?
Well, this isn't anything new. President Trump has regularly attacked the Obama administration. He uses, you look at something like NAFTA, which was a deal that was, or the Iran nuclear deal, anything that was conducted under the oversight of the Obama administration, President Trump was criticized as being the worst deal ever. And so this isn't anything new, this narrative that actually his success is due to the failures of the Obama administration in his view. Now, that is his line of attack, but that is within the Democrats, of course. Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are incredibly popular figures who, you just look at the response to Michelle Obama's speech on the first night, closing out the first night of the convention, and the sort of the rapturous response that she's had to it. So we're likely to see, more as the criticisms of President Trump continue to build as a theme during the convention for the Democrats. You're going to see continued criticism in return from President Trump and his administration.
Right. All right, Jagriti, thank you so much for joining us and for all your inputs on this story.